What is going on, everybody? It is episode 809 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here once again with my co-host for the day. Introduce yourself, my friend.
I thought it was pretty cruel, but I didn't say anything yesterday when you lied to everyone saying that Mary was going to be back, and you're like, it's April Fool's, come on, it's funny.
This was not an April Fool's joke, so even last night...
Joke's on us, actually.
Yeah. Even last night on IRL, like when we were going off air, I was doing the outro, tell them your social media, tell them, what your YouTube channel is, and I go, guys, Mary is going to be back tomorrow, and then literally as I sent this, as I finished saying it, I looked down at my phone, and I get a text message from her. And she's like, look, I'm back in town, but I'm not feeling well. So, she's like lost her voice and wasn't feeling well. I'm like, you couldn't have sent me this like 20 minutes earlier.
Well, it's funny. Your chat is theorizing that Phil and Mary are actually making a secret song together, and that would explain someone losing their voice.
That would. I mean, I think the better explanation right now, because my voice was rough in the morning a couple of days ago, like for like 2 or 3 days in a row. And I think it's because the air conditioning units are coming back on. So my guess is that just you're getting used to it again.
It's crazy because all weekend it was 80, and then last night it was like 40 degrees.
I had to come in a regular jacket today.
Yeah. Well, anyway, what's up, guys? Glad to be here.
How you doing? Doing good?
Doing well.
All right. Last night, luckily I was able to get a hold of you last night once IRL went off the air. And
yes.
we were finishing up. But we have a bunch of stuff to get into today, guys. But before we get started, hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already. Perhaps you're just looking for Mary and you want to subscribe because you want to make sure that you get notified when she is back here. We are hoping that she feels better and she is back tomorrow. But we have a bunch of stuff to talk about today, so do hit the like button. Do subscribe to the channel if you are new here and you haven't subscribed. And remember to share these live streams and the segments out with your friends and your family and your loved ones and everybody in your life that you know, because the best way that you can help channels like this grow is to share the content out with other people so that they can get the word out and share it with their friends. It is like its very own little mini multi-level marketing scam. That's what it is. I heard Tim talking.
PCC Ponzi.
Yeah, no, right? Yeah. That's what it could be. We should make a shirt with like
just a pyramid and your face is at the top.
Oh, that's such a good idea. I kind of like no, maybe we put Mary's face at the top. At the very top. Okay. She can be at the top of the pyramid. Yeah. We can put Mary's face at the top of the pyramid. Okay. We'll work on that along with the GONGO merch, which, by the way, you guys can support right now. If you go on over to our Teespring store, you can pick up Save the GONGO merch. I already see people in the chat today talking about how we need Kellen to be president of the GONGO.
You got the mug? Can you pull up the mug?
Yeah, I got the mug.
So here's why you need the mug, because there's a very special coffee in the works, and that's all I'm going to say, that you can fill. You can take that special coffee and fill it in this mug.
Yes, you could.
So just keep your eyes out. Down the road, there will be a special coffee coming.
So you got it. So a bunch of stuff to talk about today. I do want to talk about John Boyega. I want to talk about his seeming lack of understanding of what the fan base of Star Wars actually wanted, because what he did was he called out the fans as racist, despite the fact that the fans really were 110% behind him when the sequel, when the Disney trilogy was being made. And what's interesting about it is it's kind of a throwback for me, because it really was early days in the culture war. We're not talking like early days like Gamergate, but we're talking about early days of YouTube content creation as far as culture war goes. So I have my own memories of that, not on this side of the camera, but on the other side of the camera. So we'll talk about it. We're going to talk about the fact that the media is claiming, and I do think that there is some merit to this, that there is some review bombing going on against Snow White. The problem is, even if it's true, does it matter? That is my existential question that I will ask the universe. But we're going to talk about it because IMDb had to put out a statement as far as why they put a disclaimer on it saying that the metrics seemed weird, and they wanted to let people know because there was like 270,000 reviews on Snow White, and I can't even imagine 270,000 people actually went to see it, though I'm sure that is actually true. I think I tried to average out the average ticket price versus how much it made, and it was like 11 million people people. I was probably off on that. It was back of a notebook number. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos going to war with YouTube because there is a battle right now for the hearts and minds of pretty much eyeballs everywhere as every type of platform tries to get their content in front of you, even here on YouTube is what we're doing right now. And we're also going to talk about, look, I wanted to talk about music and why music has changed so much. And Serge is going to be here. He's going to be here. Kellen is giving me a face, but he's going to be here. And I want to talk about why sincerity and vulnerability are kind of gone from music today, because I was watching this clip earlier. It's this reposted clip that goes viral every so often of the Goo Goo Dolls performing Iris back in, like, I think it was 2004, which still would have been late. In the game. I could be off about the year there, but they were performing it live and it was pouring rain. And there was a tweet that just asked, why doesn't anybody make music like this?
I actually think it's kind of a dumb tweet.
But I think the question is valid. Why is music like this not propped up by the industry anymore?
Why isn't Frank Sinatra music around anymore?
We'll talk about there you go. You're getting ahead of yourself. I think you're wrong, but we'll get to it. Okay. All right, so we got that. We got a bunch of other stuff. If you're ready, we can just get started. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Let's get started then. First things first. So we have talked endlessly over the last couple of months about all of the controversies surrounding Snow White, and it was clear to everyone that the movie was dead in the water, dead on arrival before it even came out. But even as it failed in its opening weekend at the box office, barely making any money and making about the same overseas, which was a bad sign, and then failing even further when it was beat out in its second weekend by a Jason Statham action movie named A Working Man, which I, by the way, am going to see tonight, which I'm very excited about. The controversies rolled in from 2022 onward, and now it seems like the media is doing everything in its power to kind of shift the narrative around it. And one of the ways this is happening, for better or for worse, is they're talking about review bombing. So what is happening is it was being reported at one point that this was the lowest ever review on IMDb at 1.5 out of 10. Here's the problem. That's not the lowest of all time. First things first, the lowest thing ever recorded on IMDb was actually a Kirk Cameron Christmas movie.
And I have to ask, how big do the movies need to be to be included in this list? Because there's a lot of terrible movies.
It doesn't matter. It's just a matter of who gave how bad the reviews are. I mean, anything can get a review on IMDb.
Okay.
So it's not like it's gatekept by the size of the production. I mean, it's like a Kirk Cameron religious Christmas movie that's actually the lowest, 1.3.
Why? Just because it was.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it seemed like it got panned by critics and audiences.
I feel like you have to watch it now.
Yeah, I know. I kind of feels like I want to. Yeah. So this is what they said. Rotten Tomatoes. I always want to say Rotten Tomatoes because it's always been Rotten Tomatoes that has been guilty of these types of shenanigans in the past. But I want to talk about what IMDb said. This was the notice that they put on the page. It says, our ratings mechanism has detected unusual voting activity on this title. At the time of this article's publication, the film has a user rating of 1.5 out of 10, making it one of the lowest rated films ever in the site's history. The film is also not devoid of ratings, as IMDb is showing 270,000 reviews. However, Forbes recently reported that it is likely the result, again, they say likely the result of review bombing, just as IMDb warned, with the outlet noting that 90% of Snow White's reviews on the site have been 1 star. So they go heavily to the very bottom.
Sure.
So the first thing I thought was it doesn't matter. These companies are going to put a disclaimer on this type of stuff and try to soften the blow, but the culture has already made up its mind about this movie.
Wouldn't you expect this in the first 48 hours after release too? If it truly was a review bombing campaign by angry internet trolls or whatever, whoever the group was, wouldn't you expect this to see it right after it drops, not 2 weeks?
I mean, maybe.
Whether it's the disclaimer or whether...
I mean, it probably takes time for that many hundreds of thousands of reviews to accumulate.
Is it... I would be curious, how does it stack up with total reviews in other movies?
What do you mean? So
I know you said it's one of the worst reviewed movies, but I wonder how it stacks up with just total reviews.
As far, that would tell the number seems high. You mean the total number of reviews?
Total reviews.
270,000 reviews is a lot. So I tried to check. Rotten Tomatoes about what their number was, and all it said was more than 10,000.
Okay.
Which seems perfectly fine and applicable to a movie that did $40 million.
I'd be curious what the average movie gets like with reviews, because if it is a crazy high amount, this is definitely in the eye of the public, and for whatever reason, they're giving it terrible reviews.
Yeah. And remember, guys, that these sites have kind of been working to shield these movies from criticism for years. If you go over to Rotten Tomatoes to their section, it gives a tomato meter of, that's the critic score, of 29%, and a popcorn meter, which is the audience score, of 74%, which seems to indicate that audiences liked it fine. Here's the thing. If you then switch the tomato meter from top critics at 29% to all critics, it actually goes up to 40%. So the top critics on Rotten Tomatoes are giving it a lower score than the cumulative of all the critics. But if you look at the verified audience of the popcorn meter at 74% and you drop it to all audience, it drops to 19%. Now, if you're wondering what the difference is between verified audience and all audience, is that they introduced this, I believe, after... Yeah, what's up, bud? Serge is here, my friend. I think what they did is after the release of Captain Marvel, and a couple of films after that, they switched, and what they did was they added a verified review setting, which basically means that the only way to verify your review is if you bought your ticket on Fandango, which Rotten Tomatoes owns.
Oh, okay.
Or Fandango owns Rotten Tomatoes. So if you're to take this number as gospel, the only people that you're seeing are people that oh crap. Might be no, I don't think it'll work. Go ahead, hold on.
Well, what I was gonna say is just about the reviews. Like usually with the terrible movies, all the garbage movies that come out, the critic score always seems higher than it should be. Like constantly. What was the? I'm trying to think of another recent example of just like a garbage movie that's come out, but the critic score is always too high. It's always too high, and so I just don't. I mean, I guess with the fact that they're changing their metrics and reviews, they're trying to hide it. But I think, like you said, Brett, it doesn't matter. We all know this movie's done. We knew it before it came out. It's just interesting to me that 2 weeks after the fact, like I guess it is like 2 weeks. 2 weeks after the fact, that we're now getting this notice, like, hey, these reviews, like the IMDb notice, hey, double check these reviews. They might not be, totally set. So.
Yep.
That's just kind of my 2 cents on it.
We were having technical difficulties because
trying to fill air.
No, camera off. We can't do anything about it because OBS has to be restarted.
Where'd Serge go? Is he gone?
No, it can't be fixed. Because OBS has to be closed and reopened, and we're already live.
Brutal. He gets it next to me.
It happens. It happens.
Gets it next to me.
That would be cute.
Yeah.
I think the problem with this also, guys, is like for the most part, Snopes fact checked it, but nobody. It's the culture's already made up its mind.
That's what I was saying.
The culture's already made up its mind about Rotten Tomatoes, like about Snow White.
Well, yeah, and what I was saying while you were addressing the technical difficulties is that like I don't care about the critic score. The critic score is always going to be higher than it should be, in my opinion. It's just interesting that when you do adjust for the total audience scores, like, because I don't remember the last time I used Fandango to purchase a ticket. Maybe 10 years ago.
I don't know. It's like, do you just buy them on site?
I just buy them through the theater I'm going to, or on site,
online or on site.
But it doesn't matter, either or.
It's actually a huge problem for us right now because what happened is like 3 times I've had to buy movie tickets. And every time then like something's come up and we haven't been able to go, so I get a refund. But the problem is the refund ends up being like credit, and it won't actually like refund me like money back to my debit card.
Through the website?
Through the theater that we go to. So it goes to like store credit at the theater, but I never want to do that because to use that you have to go to the theater to use it. I can't use store credit for them or theater credit for them online. I have to do it there, and then I don't know if I'm going to get the seat I want. I don't know. Like I mean, it's like I've called there and they like nobody's picked up.
That was gonna be my next question.
Yeah.
Maybe you can call, but will anyone answer?
Yeah, like I've called and nobody picks up.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
Well.
it's actually really weird because you would think that for most of these ticket places, they would want to be as accommodating as possible. We did a whole topic yesterday about how bad theaters are right now and how it's not working.
So how much longer does Snow White stay in the theaters, in your opinion?
At least a month.
Another from now?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I do. At the very least, they're going to want to. They're going to want to get as much as they can out of it while what's there, and it's not going to do big numbers on. Actually, no. Let me rephrase that. I do think it's going to do good numbers on Disney Plus.
I know when theaters do show movies, they get a cut of all ticket sales, right?
50%, roughly 50%. Disney takes from what I understand, Disney takes higher in the first week. So Disney keeps more of that. Again, I can't confirm that, but what I've been told is like normally it's about a 50-50 split. Disney in the first week of release, the first weekend, keeps like 60 or more of that. But since they are such a big force in the industry, they basically can, brute force the theaters into carrying their movies.
Well, so if that's the case, and let's say you own a movie theater and you know this movie sucks, no one's buying it, does it make sense to cut it off early?
Yeah.
If you're like a local theater, you're not a part of a big chain like an AMC or something.
Yeah.
I mean, would it make sense to just be like, okay, listen, this movie sucks, no one's really watching it. Let's just stop show times in a week or two. And
but one of the
bring something
issues
else
that people have is like they think that the movies aren't given enough time in the theaters to actually.
I would agree if it's a hit right away.
Yeah.
Chat, maybe you know of an example of a movie that had a really slow start and then picked up towards the end of its theatrical run.
So Mufasa is a good example of that recently, where it didn't do great its opening weekend over the holidays. Against Sonic, but then because it monopolized all of the PLE, like the big screen, like the IMAX screenings, the large format screenings, since they basically took advantage of all of those theaters and they were able to muscle out all the competition, that movie ended up like dragging itself to over $700 million. Despite the fact that it only opened at 35.
What was the budget on that one?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it was high.
Sounds good though. 700.
It's good considering people thought it was going to be a big flop comparatively.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do think that Disney Plus will probably be a better place for Snow White, and I think more people will watch it there
Okay.
than going to see it at the theaters.
Yeah.
It's a lot different to commit to just sitting down and watching something.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that brings the next question is like, if it was such a disaster, do you really want to draw more attention to it super soon by putting it on your flagship streaming platform?
Yeah. It'll go to pay. I don't know. Somebody can let me know. I don't think Disney does pay VOD. So somebody will have to let me know if they do that for other streamers, if you're allowed to rent it from other services. But my guess is it goes straight to Disney Plus. So, all right. Let's move on. We got more to get into today, guys. I was kind of hesitant to talk about this one because I didn't know where we would go with it. But there was a clip that made the rounds like last weekend about Chappell Roan talking about how nobody that she knows that has kids is happy. So what I want to do first is watch this clip, and I'd be interested to know what you guys in the chat think of something like this, because I have my own opinions. I do think that Hollywood in general is pro-nihilism and anti-family, but let's listen to this clip and then hear what she has to say.
All of my friends who have kids are in hell. I actually don't know anyone who's like happy and has children at this age. I have like a 1-year-old, like 3-year-old, 4 and under, 5 and under. I literally have not met anyone who's happy, anyone who has like light in their eyes, anyone who has slept.
Okay. It's a short clip, but it kind of goes to the point, right? So, disclaimer, first things first, is like, look, I'm getting married in September. And we are talking about starting our family, and it's an unbelievably amazing thing to start planning out, especially if you're somebody like me who just never thought that something like that was ever going to happen and that you were never going to be in that position. So to have that opportunity and know that that's something that's going to be possible for you is actually an unbelievably amazing experience. But I also have the benefit of like more perspective and age that I didn't have. She's in her mid-20s. So I did not have that when I was in my mid-20s.
Well, I would say like we know that as the generations go on, like having kids is becoming less and less common, but I don't know how many Gen Z 24, 25-year-olds actually have an abundance of friends with children. Like, I don't know how common that is anyway, so I'm curious to who she actually knows.
If it's people in the industry.
Yeah. And I mean,
The only reason I brought up my situation here is like anytime you talk about stuff like this, what the comments usually say is something like people without kids talking about kids.
it's always that.
And that's, I get it. You're talking about the theoretical, but this is something that I feel uniquely connected to because I'm at a different place in my life now. And when I was in my mid-20s, I probably would have looked at something like this and just walked right past it and not thought anything of it. But what I do know, and what I think Hollywood proves over and over again, is that Hollywood and corporations in general, they love the nihilism. Unless you're creating products in the realm of products for kids, Hollywood and big corporate America loves the nihilistic approach to a life without kids. They love the idea of dual income, no kids. They love the dinks because
Sure.
it's a life kind of are based around consumerism and consumption.
Well, I think the modern, the default narrative right now is having kids sucks. And sure, the economy's not great, and that definitely weighs into people's decisions. But you have this narrative that it is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And which it's not. I mean, it's not. It's an awesome
it's a conversation that happens a lot at this place of employment
Sure.
because a big part of the discussions that happen, whether it's on IRL or the morning, whenever he's doing the morning show and stuff like that, is conservatives tend to care a lot about the future of this country and the future of the American family. So you're already kind of predisposed to having this discussion.
But I also feel like I'm also giving her the benefit of the doubt with what I just said. She's not just saying, hey, economy bad, the world is scary, I'm not going to have kids. She's outright saying kids are hell, right? I think she compared their living in having children is equivalent of you burning in hell. Like, that's an insane thing. It's not just saying kids aren't for me, I'm not going to advocate for them. It's actively demonizing.
Yeah. And back in the
it's
day,
an attack on children.
like if you saw someone in this situation, say if we're watching a movie and it's the parents, it's kind of the trope, right? The kid doesn't sleep. That was me, by the way. My brother apparently slept through everything. I never slept at all, which is still pretty true all the way to this day. But the idea was always, the parents go through a lot. It's expensive. They don't get much sleep. You're kind of, you're anxious all the time. You see the story today about the dad who left the three kids, the 10, 6, and 1-year-old at McDonald's so that he could go to a job interview, got arrested. Like, there's all these things, and that's just one specific example that came up today around the world of parenthood. But there's all this anxiety that comes with the idea of being a parent. But when you talk to them, it's like they would never trade it for anything in the world.
Of course. I mean,
because it's not just that they love their children, but they understand, like, I think that one of the things that's been lost is we kind of have lost the understanding that it's not necessarily about your happiness.
Well,
it's about something bigger than you.
This is another example of an issue, like a pop culture or mainstream narrative that is just completely out of touch with what's actually going on in the ground level. That when you talk to people who have children, they love it. But the way, like I said, the default narrative is that it's hell, right? That you can't do it. You have laws that don't make it easy. I mean, to be a parent, like, it's ridiculous. Like, I feel for that guy that got arrested because, I mean, listen, I don't know if McDonald's is where I'd leave my kids to do a job interview. I'm sure I could come up with alternatives. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, why is he getting that job? To provide for his kids. In his attempt to provide for his kids, he's now being punished and will likely lose them depending on the state he lives in.
And lose his ability to get jobs because it completely changes, his ability to work.
And so there's this, like, attack from our institutions and the news, an anti-family kind of stance that's popped up, and they think it's popular. They think this is what Americans actually want, but it's not true. It's like what's another, like the deportations of the gang members. They're like, oh no, he was just a father. He leaves back.
No, he was an MS-13 gang member.
he was a gang member. So it's like they think these issues and their narrative gels with the the average person, and it does not.
Well, the other thing is, like, given who she is, given her persona, the drag makeup, She's kind of pigeonholed into having, look, she can talk about her, bucking the system all she wants. When you run a prepackaged persona of a leftist musician, they're going to be expected to kind of have leftist takes. It would actually be more, counterculture for her to be more of a Lana Del Rey, if she was to actually be different from what the music industry is presenting you.
Well,
so her opinions are pretty much what you expect for somebody that's a modern pop star.
Right. And I think definitely...
And I think she's young and she will
Sure.
grow. I don't honestly know if her message will grow, because I think that the industry mandates a lot of time that you hold a specific image. And unless you're somebody of immense success, far and beyond even her.
Like her and...
The other one that I can think of is
girl?
the other one that I can think of is Olivia Rodrigo.
Not just her.
Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah. They're like the new girl bosses, right? So they're still holding on, propping up this girl boss thing. You're not seeing them with, with the Kardashians, every time they're dating someone new, it's news. With this new kind of generation of these pop stars and young actresses, you're not really seeing that. And maybe it is because they're only in their mid-20s. Maybe that's something that'll happen in 5 to 10 years. But, you're just not seeing them pushing any type of family values, whether it's dating, whether it's just saying they enjoy the presence of children. You're not seeing any of that. It's like, it's my world. I'm the king of my own world. I'm a girl boss.
I think society in general, we don't even have to make this about gender. Society in general is more narcissistic than it's ever been. I don't know if it's unique to just America. I think social media has created this to be a worldwide problem, that, our inherent narcissism, because we're having our reflection kind of shown back at us each and every day, will show out in how we spend our money, how we spend our time. And we don't even have to just talk about the musicians, talk about the rise of the idea of the dinks, the dual income, no kids. Disney shifting its entire business model at the parks to accommodate that type of person, rather than families who have to save and scrounge to be able to put out or to go to the parks once a year.
Yeah,
right? It's the rich millennial couple with no entanglements that allows them to spend the money from their laptop job on a bunch of products that are imminently disposable.
Now, it's important to know that too, Chappell Roan or Chappell Roan.
Chappell Roan.
Chappell?
Not Chappelle.
Chappell.
Dave Chappell.
Dave Chappell. Well, so she's considered like an icon and an ally of the LGBTQ community. And if I'm not mistaken, they have some of the lowest rates when it comes to being parents.
Well, yes,
that
makes perfect sense.
There's a lot of reasons for that make a lot of sense, but nonetheless, I don't think what she's saying, it's on brand for her, not just being a young pop star in Hollywood, but it's on brand for her audience that it's all about them and their appearance. It's not about family values. So, hey, I will say too, dude, every time I see a clip from this podcast, the Call Her Daddy podcast, it's always one of the worst things I've ever seen.
It's if Mary, by the way, I saw somebody in the chat saying, they said Mary quit. So long, Sims. That was an April Fool's joke. She will be back tomorrow. I was also told today that apparently you're supposed to stop the April Fool's jokes at noon.
Since when?
Today was the first time I'd ever heard of that. How do you adjust for time zones?
I think that's an April Fool's joke.
Maybe it was. It was like an April Fool's Inception joke.
Yeah.
I think Mary would talk about what was it you just said right before I interrupted
her being like an icon for the LGBTQ community.
At the end there,
it doesn't hurt her brand.
Yeah, I mean,
it's on par.
Oh, Call Her Daddy. So I think Mary would agree with you that one of the worst things that's been made, that's been put out in the last however long for women is the Call Her Daddy podcast and the rise of that type of content that kind of feeds into certain aspects.
And again, if she was just saying, hey, kids are not for me because of X, Y, and Z reasons, no one would really bat an eye. It's the fact that she's painting it in such a negative light and then laughing about it. Yeah. It's insane.
I mean, I give her the leeway that she's young, right? And how she feels. There is an issue that 20. I think she's 26. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I think she's 26. Depending on who you talk about, there's kind of an urgency to the idea of starting a family that I think conservatives don't realize that a lot of the rest of the country just doesn't have.
I will say the frightening thing about her specifically compared to a Sabrina Carpenter or a Olivia Rodrigo is she was just a TikTok star that blew up over the last
No. She was with a label previously and
But
went to a prestigious singer-songwriter camp
That's
back
fine.
in her,
That's
like,
fine. But she is not like that's not the usual route you see these pop stars go. Like a lot of, like the Disney to pop star pipeline is very strong still. Like so she could have been nothing, but TikTok helped promote her. Like she was a singer, she was a performer. She was really small. And then TikTok kind of propelled her to this fame, and now everyone's picking her up. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, her being so small, I would assume she's held these views for a while, and that's kind of, it's worrying in the sense that I would consider her a normie at that point. And so if normies hold these views, man, the country's in trouble.
Yeah, I think they.
But I don't think they truly do. I think it's a minority.
I do think that they think 27 or 26 is like younger than it is, and that you've got all this time in front of you when that's not necessarily the case. Not for everybody.
You have forever until you don't,
yeah.
And then it hits you fast.
And there just isn't a lot of media that glorifies the other side of that aisle, right? So we've covered Evie magazine before, endlessly on this channel. That it's the conservative version of Cosmo for women, pushing more traditional values, but that's just a bug in the grand scheme of things compared to all of the money that's pumped into more progressive outlets and magazines, which give a very, very different idea of what your ideal future should be to young women. And one of the things we were going to talk about today, which I ended up bumping for another topic because I felt like it was too serious, was this article about how the show Adolescence, which we talked about last week because of how people perceive it to have kind of whitewashed crimes in the UK for the sake of a show that's about incel culture at the age of 13, which is not possible because you're not an incel at 13. And knife violence and all this stuff. Well, they're showing it at schools in the UK now, which means some wheels got greased and they're putting the show out in the UK in the public school system. And then they're teaching anti-misogyny classes to kind of combat what they believe is like the message that's being shown to boys. But nobody ever talks about like, what about the media that women are consuming? And what can we do to give a more full understanding of the world to young women?
It's not a slasher film. And what I mean by that is...
Well, no, they're not saying that. It's
when boys engage in destructive behaviors, it's apparent, right?
Yeah.
It's violence. It's drug use. It's in your face. You can see it. When girls do it, it's not like that. It's much more long and played out, where you lead to like these podcast appearances with... Chappell Roan, and yes, it's seemingly harmless that she's going on and complaining about kids, but what does that message do to women in 15 years? Right? So you don't see the negative effects right away.
I agree. And the other thing is it's couched in a type of like power that's given to them that makes it very hard for people to, like I've said all the time, like my generation, I'm 38. Like we were taught like women are going to be able to do anything in the world, equal rights, all of this stuff. But as the world changed and as gender roles changed, they didn't really address how young men were supposed to react to that. Like nobody really said, okay, the world has completely changed. The gender roles your parents knew, the gender role your grandparents knew, that's not really the thing anymore. And that's fine. And we all championed that, but nobody really taught the guys what they're supposed to do with that, because now their fundamental role in society has at least shifted a bit and they didn't know what to do. And I think we're still struggling with that today. We have a 20 from Jason Dutton. Were you in Yellowstone? Being young is not an excuse for being so nihilistic towards children. I really hate the fact pop culture rewards hating children. I mean, again, I think that much like some people go through their edgy atheist phase, and as you grow and learn, it's possible for you to see the world differently and change. I would say you're probably right that the industry she's chosen to make a profession out of makes that harder, because they reward not having kids, because it's very hard to do your job when you're late. Just think about the lifespan of some of these pop stars And 9 months is that's a career killer.
It's also important to note that like our school systems have been failing for decades. Like it's not a good system. And so when there's no true good role models in children's lives growing up, they end up getting their advice from pop stars.
Yeah.
Right. And so it just perpetuates this problem, and it's a vicious cycle. So I'm not surprised that we're here. I'm like kind of offended, but I'm not shocked by any means.
I'm not either. So I guess the question is, what do we do in a society where we have no goals outside of our own self-gratification, where the act of having children, which is something that is supposed to be about selflessness and sacrifice, is demonized because it doesn't allow you to kind of indulge your every whim? Where does society go when there is no form of entertainment? And entertainment does matter when there's nothing that's really telling you the positives to the contrary of that.
I'd be curious if I was, I think Alex Cooper's the host, right?
Yeah.
I think that's her name. If I was Alex Cooper, I'd ask, I mean, not that she would care, but I would ask
about either of us.
Chappell Roan. I would say, hey, okay, what is your perfect world where you would decide to have kids? What does that look like for you?
Nannies, I'm sure they'd say.
And I'm guessing they don't have an answer.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's this like kind of like this instant reaction, almost like a reflex to say kids are bad. Kids cry, makes life hard. So I hate kids. But when they really sit down and think about it, it's like, what kind of environment or what kind of situation do you see yourself, or could you see yourself having family? I don't think they'd have an answer. I don't think this is a thought that a lot of people are even having, which is sad.
Yeah.
You know?
We'll have to see what happens. And I mean, hopefully with work, we can change that. I'm literally doing, it's like Starship Troopers. I'm doing my part. I'm getting married in September. So I'm like one step away.
USPCC is working hard.
We are working very hard.
Thank you for your
All
tax
right.
dollars.
So yes, thank you for the government waste. We appreciate that. All right, let's do cringe and cue to the day. This one's mild, but you know, it depends on how angry the concept of hobby horsing makes you.
Oh, geez.
Do you know what hobby horsing is?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
well, this
God.
is like human hobby horsing.
Hey, chat, you guys complained about the Rizzler, all right? So you get what's coming to you.
Here we go. Look at that. What do they call that? What's the thing that they jump over? Is that the steeple? I don't know. I don't know the terminology.
Way more than I do.
I'm muting that because that's going to get us demonetized, I'm sure. They've got hoofs on their feet that you wear. This is a real thing. Oh, and she's brushing the hair of her horse. And it makes hoof prints in the ground, and then you can pick it up and fix it. And how do you feel about that, buddy? I wish I could have played. It's so much worse with the music too, but I couldn't play with the music.
It's maybe they're practicing for the perfect crime, and they're practicing jumping over a fence, leaving no human footprints. So if that's what they're doing, I'm less annoyed.
It's one of those things. So the cringe, what the cringe of the day is kind of designed to do. People make fun of the libertarians and the live and let live mentality. It's like, as long as they're not, whatever bar somebody hops over in the comfort of their own home is none of my business. Cringe of the day is literally designed to like just test how libertarian can you be? How live and let live can you be?
No. Dude, I'm sorry. Like this hobby, like, dude, there's a bunch of horses right down the road from where we're at, Brett. Yeah. And you know what they are struggling for is young people to work there, to learn how to take care of the horses, to learn how to ride the horses. Like, you could go and work with real horses. I have a friend that I went to high school with. That's what he does now. He works with horses on a farm and he loves it. Like, you could do that.
Yeah.
But instead you want to play pretend while you're 27 years old.
So whenever I drive through Lovettsville, Virginia, there's always people just on their horses on like the sidewalks.
Have you ever seen a horse roll down a hill?
No.
It was crazy. I saw one in the same area.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like a kid that rolls down a hill, the horses do it too. Yeah.
Me and Olivia called them fence friends whenever we're driving by the horses. We got a 20 here from DCNC. He says, have you ever seen hobby motocross? It's not even cringe. It's cool AF. I'd have to see it. I mean, I imagine it's like, that just sounds like for somebody who can't afford a motorcycle or a motocross bike.
I'm so curious
What is it?
I don't know. Oh no. Okay, so they take the seat off the bike and they just run around. So they've got the handlebars and the seat and they just run around.
I saw hobby. I'm not even kidding you. I saw hobby scootering the other day where it's just the bar and the plate but no wheels. Hobby scootering. So depressing.
We can ask Serge about that. He would know about hobby scootering.
I feel bad because
Dude.
we couldn't do sound check.
Dude, is that the fastest you've ever had a guest walk off the show?
Yes, it is. Right
Wow.
now. I mean, it's my fault because I should have done a sound check without him here and test the camera. It's my fault.
Womp, womp.
Serge.
That was the April Fool's Day joke. You guys thought Serge was going to be on the show.
That's too bad.
You guys are idiots.
I filled in on IRL last night, so I've built up some social credit to. We're good. All right, let's do Q to the day. Let's do one today, guys. This one's from Dead Man. It says this is pregnant Valentine resting on her tower. She looks like she's going to be a great mom. She looks kind of tired though, as one does.
That's like a 1,000-yard stare right there.
It's a tired stare. It's okay. All right, guys, let's move on. We got a bunch of stuff to get into today. Again, thank you guys all so much for joining us today. So let's talk about Star Wars. Let's talk about the fact that Star Wars is back in the news, and it's back in the news for all of the wrong reasons. So there have been all of these rumors swirling around that Kathleen Kennedy is once again on her way out. These rumors tend to persist no matter what happens, but a lot of people do believe that this is going to be the year that she finally exits. And the sad thing is it seems like the only time Star Wars ever shows up in the news is when it has something to do with people fighting, because there just isn't a whole lot of excitement around it anymore. It's kind of been drained out of people. Mandalorian and Grogu is going to theaters. I don't see anyone super excited about that, except for the fact that they're going to have to endure more Pedro Pascal in that film. But now what the news is that John Boyega is back in the news because he was doing this new documentary series. He was giving an interview and he's talking about how Star Wars is, quote, so white that a black person existing in it is a big deal. Toxic fans are okay with us playing the friends, but we can't touch their heroes. And I think the problem is, and I don't even have an endless amount of notes for this, I think the problem is that John Boyega never actually went online and spoke to any actual Star Wars fans. Because if you talk to anyone that I know that talked about Star Wars, and as you guys know, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. Seen them, didn't care much for the sequel trilogy. I don't even think I finished Rise of Skywalker because the first two movies were just so blah, and I love the slop most of the time, but it's just, I don't care. Thank you, guys. Scared the crap out of you.
Every time.
Okay. So the problem is that he fundamentally... Oh, he's dancing.
You need a new song, though, Brett.
No. We love it. Well, Mary loves it.
Maybe you mix the last one with this one.
That's
create
a good idea.
hybrid.
That's a good idea. So the problem is, guys, back on topic here. I know you guys, if you're watching this, the clip, you hate the crisis parties. But the problem is that everyone that I assume he's talking about here, and I'm not necessarily giving him the benefit of the doubt here, so we're not going to take the charitable conclusion. Nobody wanted Finn put into the background. If anything, what they wanted is they wanted for Rey to be put in the background, and they wanted the story of Finn to be brought front and center because they loved the idea of a stormtrooper going through a redemption arc.
I remember, I think it was the trailer for when they announced the new trilogy. I remember there was a trailer, and I think it was Finn picking up the lightsaber, and everyone thought he was going to be the new Jedi. And they're like, this is a cool story. Like, you're a nobody working for the evil empire, and suddenly you're somebody now, and you're one of the good guys. Like, that is such a great story arc, and they just put a chick in it. They put a girl
as
on.
Kathleen Kennedy is wont to do. So what he's doing right now is he was giving an interview for a documentary called Number One on the Call Sheet: Black Leading Men in Hollywood. I actually looked at the trailer for this and it looks fairly interesting, but I'm a sucker for Denzel Washington and I kind of want to see his interview for this. And he talks about the rise of Skywalker, his role in the sequel trilogy, and the online harassment from racist and toxic Star Wars fans upset with a black actor playing a lead hero in the space franchise. This is his quote. Let me tell you, Star Wars always had the vibe of being in the most whitest elite space. It's a franchise that's so white that a black person existing in it was something. I'm sorry. That was the end of the quote. You can always tell it's something when Star Wars fans try to say, well, we had Lando Calrissian and we had Samuel L. Jackson. It's like telling me how many cookie chips are in the cookie dough. It's like they're just scattered in there, bro. They're okay with us playing the lead's best friend, but once we touch their heroes, once we lead, once we trailblaze, it's like, oh my God, it's just a bit too much. They're pandering, the actor added, while also acknowledging that being cast in the franchise was a fundamental moment in his career.
Who is he talking to?
So he seems confused as if... So the fans can't pander. Only Disney can pander.
I wonder if, like, he went to the execs and said, yo, like, what's the issue here? I want a larger role.
He has
and
done
the
that.
execs threw the fans under the bus.
So here's a $20 super chat from award-winning, we will not say the end of that name. My kids went to the grocery store one night and came back with a pint of Down syndrome ice cream, saying that they knew it was made for me. Moments like that are worth more than any monetary item. Have kids, at least 5. I did.
I don't even know what that means.
He's saying that they made a joke and it made him happy.
I don't get the joke. Maybe that ice cream's for me.
It could be for you.
Yeah.
That could be the problem.
No, like, I want to know who the hell's in his ear telling him this shit. Like, they're gaslighting him, because this is one of the clearest examples where the fans actually were overwhelmingly in support of this guy getting a larger role.
I liked and the funny thing is with what's going on with Zegler now, like, nothing's changed.
Like, usually the star of the movie pisses people off. It's rare to see, like, one of these side characters have... It reminds me, like, 15, maybe not that long ago, maybe like 10 years ago, the internet was really pushing for Donald Glover as Spider-Man, as Miles Morales. He wanted to do it, and I think he eventually got a role in the animated series.
Well, they haven't done it live action yet.
They wanted that. They wanted him to be live action Miles Morales, and I think that's kind of... I mean, he's older now. It's not going to work. But you had people...
I've always liked him better
begging.
as a writer than as a...
I think he's kind of good with whatever he does.
But I knew him from music before I knew him from acting. I didn't watch. I knew Childish Gambino before I knew Donald
Glover. As well.
I like this quote from Clifton Duncan. I think it sets the tone for this. He says, the biggest shift within show business over the last 10 years is that peer approval now matters more than public approval. They no longer care what you think, as you are no longer the audience they perform for. You are not even the audience anymore. You are merely roadblocks to progress. In other words, you are the enemy. Once you understand that, all the other hostility towards you makes sense.
I feel bad. This breaks my heart in a way, because he's just so wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, it could have been, like, to me, I mean, he's crying racism, right, basically?
Yeah.
But
the evidence is so clearly to the contrary, that everybody wanted him to be. You know who didn't? China. That's why they shrunk the poster. If you guys remember this was a big scandal at the time, that they shrunk down his image on the poster for the Chinese version. And have you seen what's going on with iShowSpeed in China right now? It's not good. It's so funny because it was being billed as, look at iShowSpeed destroy the anti-Chinese propaganda like last Friday. Come Monday and he's having racist stuff hurled at him.
We have to, like, listen, like, the government institutions, Hollywood, these big bodies, they are so out of touch, and we need to stop pretending, because we're only hurting ourselves, that they actually understand what we want and what we like. It is rare.
Well, first of all, they don't believe that you know what you want. They believe that they know what you want better than you know what you want.
Possibly.
They are actually insulted by the idea that you could tell them what you want and that you'd be right. They believe that it's your job to sit down. It's your job to eat the slop and to consume what we make for you, because we're the artists, anointed by some higher power that they don't even believe in.
It's like I said, it breaks my heart a little bit, because I do think, I mean, how long ago was the last movie they did for Star Wars of the trilogy?
What was that, 2021? Or no, it would have been 2019 before COVID.
My point is, it's been years and he's still talking about it. So obviously he really wanted a bigger role. He really wanted that character to be something big. Yeah. And so the fact that he's passionate about it makes this whole story even sadder.
This quote was from Price of Reason on X. Says, remember that time John Boyega criticized Disney for sidelining his character? He says, what I say to Disney is do not market a black character as important and then push them aside. He said that to GQ in 2020.
I mean, I agree 95%. I don't think he had to. I think that goes with any character, not just a black, white, Asian character. Don't make a badass character, put him front and center, and then say, just kidding. Like, that's not the main character of the story.
This one says, gee, look at all that fan diversity way back in 1983.
The Jedi have returned.
We're just fanatics out here waiting on Return of the Jedi. 3 years in the making. We were waiting for this.
Some people don't idolize Darth Vader like I do.
Oh, jeez.
Hell yeah.
I want to know where that guy is now.
I think that...
I mean, that's another name that, like one of the names that he didn't mention when he says Lando, when he says Mace Windu, Samuel L. Jackson, he doesn't mention James Earl Jones as the voice of Darth Vader, who is now, his voice will live, like, he did like a deal with Disney through AI that his voice will live on as Darth Vader even though he passed away.
That's cool.
So, I mean, a lot of people would question whether that's even a good idea, but
but
in perpetuity, I bet you,
Darth
I wonder
Vader.
if his family will, I mean, as some people might just say, don't do more.
Have
of
you
the
watched
character.
the new episodes of Family Guy at all?
No.
So they recast the actor that did Cleveland's voice, and it's ever so slightly off that it's
almost
distracting.
It's almost worse when it's just barely different as opposed to completely different.
Exactly. It's just a little distracting, and I don't care that they recast like whoever you want for your characters, but it's like, okay, you tried to make it too similar.
Yeah.
Like it's a distraction. Now it's ruining the episode.
Let's read through a couple of more of these. So this person says, John says, I think most fans wanted Finn to have a bigger role, to be treated better than a comic sidekick, but fans didn't write 3 shitty movies. John Boyega has a right to be angry with how his character was treated, but it was the a-holes at Lucasfilm and Disney that did him dirty, not the fans. Yeah, my point was that he was pushed aside for Kathleen Kennedy's feminism rather than fans' racism. It was the feminism of Kathleen Kennedy wanting to put Rey at the front of the trilogy, not the toxic racism of fans.
Well, look how far we've got. It was just kind of like poorly written movies, and now we have non-binary space witches.
Yes, well, we've fallen. So here's a fun fact, guys. So I really love this show Terriers that I watched over the weekend from 2010, starring Donald Logue. It only did 13 episodes. The ending kind of sucked, but it didn't get a season 2, and they wanted a season 2. And the #1 staff writer on the show, not the main writer, but the staff, like the head staff writer, Leslie Headland, who did The Acolyte.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. And the episodes that she wrote entirely weren't bad, so something happened.
Do you know I think it's the season finale of the Clone Wars, the animated series, is one of the highest rated things ever out of all. Maybe it's just television. Yeah. Might be movies too. Like they know how to tell good stories. They have the blueprints, but their own ego is getting in the way of that. Their own personal messaging campaign is getting in the way of that.
And need for everything to be IP, but that's like a whole different discussion. Sure. This person says, John Boyega needs to stop. Everyone wanted him to be the focus of the sequel. A stormtrooper turned Jedi was an awesome idea, but Kathleen Kennedy decided to uplift Rey, so he needs to STFU. I like this one. So Savvy says, Dear John Boyega, fans do not write scripts that get used in the movies you perform in. Fans do not control the way marketing is done. Fans are seldom listened to by Disney and other major corporations these days. You know who cucked Finn, who we all wanted to be a Jedi? Disney did that. You know who cucked Finn in marketing? Disney did that. You know who cucked Finn in writing quality? Disney did that. Not only did the majority of the fans want Finn to be a Jedi, but they wanted him with Rey. Mentally ill writers, though, made him a side thought, intentionally messed with viewers, and ultimately made him a throwaway character. Your gripe is with Disney, not any fan of any color.
I wonder why, again, who's in his ear? This is sad.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's that or if it's just being a little bit disconnected from the average everyday person. It could be a little bit of both, if I'm being honest. Nina Infinity says, Hey, John Boyega, don't blame the fans for how Disney treated your character. We all wanted you to be one of the heroes. They didn't. Blame Kathleen Kennedy, Disney, and Rian Johnson for the massive F-up that is The Last Jedi. Yep. If this was a day Phil was on, he could be railing against Disney right now because
he hates
really,
Disney.
He really hated how they ruined Star Wars.
I was a huge Star Wars fan, and I was so excited when they were bringing the new movies back. Yeah. And I was really disappointed. The first 3, I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm just like, meh, this kind of was a letdown. And then I've seen what they did with the Disney Plus series, and I'm like,
I mean, that's what ruins. That's
glad
what
I fell off.
in my opinion, what has ruined all of these IPs, meaning like Marvel, Star Wars. It's the streaming shows. It doesn't. None of it feels special anymore.
sure.
It doesn't.
It could
doesn't to
though.
me.
Like it could, because Star Wars is like Marvel. The universe is so massive,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can tell these little side stories, and they can be shows with like it tells you, gives you a little bit more information about the galaxy without actually changing the main plot line of the movies.
They haven't.
but they're just.
I mean, so much has been retconned, but also like the quality of writing has just been too choppy to have.
They
faith in
need
that.
some regular old basement dwelling nerds to get back in the writer's room and show them what Star Wars is supposed to be.
I agree. Marshall says, I'm convinced John Boyega has never met an actual Star Wars fan because Finn should have been the main character is an incredibly popular opinion. So,
Yeah.
there you have it. I do think that is true. And, unfortunately, I feel more bad for him because, like, it's 2025 and this is still going on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So he obviously would have, in my opinion, the fact that he's still like, if he's still talking about this in 2025, that means this really impacted him. He was really passionate about the role. And so that is also what makes it so heartbreaking, is that we probably, if they truly gave him the keys to the car, we would have seen a phenomenal performance. I
Yeah.
truly think that. And that's what just makes this whole situation it sucks, man. It really does. And we were talking about yesterday with Snow White, right? If you want to create new stories, do that. Why are you ruining old stories? And it's like constantly here, there's like an underrepresentation with black actors in Hollywood. If that's the case, let him be the role. Write the new character Finn. Like they had everything they wanted, and it still wasn't enough.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough. We're still evil, Brett.
Yes, we are. All right, guys, we're about halfway, a little over halfway to a second crisis party, so we should do that. We should get that done. Just letting you know. It's not an April Fool's joke. It's an actual request. We should get to the second crisis party. All right, let's move on. I want to talk about the streaming wars, not just the streaming wars as far as streaming services, but the battle for everybody's attention spans these days, because as entertainment and media has become decentralized, we have a vastly different way of consuming media these days, and Netflix seems to be kind of throwing down the gauntlet with YouTube here. So do you know who Ted Sarandos is? He's the CEO over at Netflix.
Yes.
I give Ted Sarandos a lot of credit because whether you like it or not, Netflix is the top of the hill when it comes to streaming services. Netflix is consistently in the top 5, 6, sometimes even 7 shows every single week when those ratings come out from Samba TV. They are clearly doing something right. But what they're saying right now is that they're saying that YouTube is Bush League, and that's how they view their content. So Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos apparently threw down the gauntlet at YouTube and was heard disparaging the content that YouTube offers at a recent appearance for the Paley Media Council event on Friday. Sarandos was heard waving off YouTube for offering unprofessional programming as far as he's concerned. He did admit that his company and YouTube are in competition, but it's only in small part, he says. He adds that YouTube is not a good recovery model for video creators. He also hinted that he feels that most of what YouTube is not professional content. He says, I think we're in a better monetization model for networks and studios for professional content, but I also think that there's a whole bunch of creators that I would put in the pro-am category who are making really interesting, compelling programming to watch, but YouTube doesn't give them any money up front to make it, so they're doing it all at their own risk. You saw that with Mr. Beast. Basically, he said he lost $80 million last year on his YouTube channel, so it's not a good recovery model. But if Beast had the audience that he had like that on Netflix, he wouldn't be raising money. He'd be giving away more money. Well, I think the issue here that he's kind of ignoring is that YouTube is free.
This is.
I mean, there's a bunch here.
He's very there's a lot to unpack.
There's a whole crap ton to unpack here.
He's first of all, I will say I love the picture they chose for him in the top of this article.
I know. He just looks like a dude who's gotten like 9 facelifts.
Dude. But
like this dude has been through it.
So there's a stereotype that women love true crime.
Yep.
And I don't think it's true. I think everyone loves true crime.
I don't.
But the difference is,
I don't care about true crime.
The difference is a certain percentage of the population, they want the dramatized, super cinematic storytelling, right? That's what you get on True TV. That's what you get on the cable networks. There's a couple YouTubers that I watched, their names are escaping me, where they literally just play the raw footage of like the interview of the suspect, and they chime in on why it's legal or not, right? And it's like, I don't need an awesome title sequence. I don't need music in the background. I don't need any of that. Like, not everything needs to be super professional. A part of why some YouTubers are as big as they are is the fact that they don't seem super corporate and professional. Yeah, it's the fact that it's raw.
The stuff that I love the most is not like corporate performed like grade A content. Not to say that it's not good. So I'm literally like, over the last week, I've been parsing my way through a 3-hour and 30-minute Buffy the Vampire Slayer retrospective that was made by one guy who runs through and gives like a short synopsis of every single episode in the show and then gives his thoughts. And it follows a very similar format through the whole thing. It's got a ton of like, it's a simple production process, but there's a ton of like post-production visual elements and stuff in there. Now, it doesn't change from the format very much, but it's one person making that. And I don't just watch that guy's channel. I believe the channel is JB's Spooky Reviews, and you should go check it out. If you love stuff like that, I think he makes great content. There's other content creators like Greg Owen, who does very, very insightful pieces about modern day Hollywood. He did a great one recently about Hollywood, the rise of Marxism, and how it connects back to the industry. He makes great stuff, but he's sitting in front of a camera, and it doesn't have 10,000 edits, 10,000 cuts, but it's fantastic. And I don't go to it for the production value, even though it is good. I go to it for the content.
Well, you know, you look at like, I'm going to bring up an example from Tim. Tim was talking about Severance and why he doesn't like Severance. And he's talking about there's a lot of just like skippable moments, right? Stuff that he's just fast forwarding to. And it's like, that's a lot of people. Yeah. Maybe not with Severance, but there's a lot of people that don't care about the shot of the landscape with the music that goes on for a minute. You know, a lot of people don't necessarily care or appreciate all the art that goes into some of these it's just unnecessary.
Yeah. So 20 here from The Last of My Kind says, Disney shrunk you on the poster, not the fans. I had surgery the day Finn's trailer came out. My post-anesthesia rant. Hope he keeps the blood-stained armor turning more and more red with the blood of the Empire. See, people wanted Finn. He sent it twice. Thank you. We got it though. But thank you for that.
Sweet, dude.
Look, let's go back up. So, what was the first thing he says? He says it's not a good recovery model for creators. He also hinted that he feels that most of what YouTube...
This is so disingenuous, though.
Also, the thing is, like, look, you're paying for that stuff to be created. Nobody's paying 90% of the creators on YouTube to make their content. Well, they're making their content with the hopes of making their money back. But let's face it, most do it as a hobby.
What did Mr. Beast lose that money on? Did he specify?
It doesn't. I mean, it's the sheer amount it costs.
Could it be the dozens of projects that Mr. Beast has going on that are set to
all
release
at one time?
Like that's Mr. Beast puts all of his money basically back into Mr. Beast stuff. So whether it's Feastables or his other actual merch companies, or it's his translation service, or it's just video content, like. You have to realize how much work and planning goes into that stuff. And so, like, it's so disingenuous to just be like, Mr. Beast lost money that he's never going to get back.
Yeah.
Like, you are so out of touch, dude.
He says that you cut your teeth on a show, but it's not a place to make money. He says, I think we're a better monetization model for networks and studios. That's the thing. YouTube is not necessarily designed, though I do think that YouTube unfortunately gives heavy preference in the algorithm to studios and to corporations. It's not championed by studios and corporations. If anything, they resent having to be on YouTube because they see it as beneath them.
Right.
Just the way that news networks do, right?
Oh, well, you know what's interesting is we were just looking at the top news live streams in the country, and you know some of the creators especially on Rumble, are in the top 5 spots. But I think number 6 or 7 was Fox's channel. So Fox realized, and this is I talk about this a lot, like off air, is just how brilliant this is instead of just putting up their like a rebroadcast, which they could do of what's currently airing on their cable channel, they actually have, I think, 3 or 4 different personalities that do a 24-hour live stream. And it's a slightly different format. It's more informal, right? Sometimes there's technical glitches. It's more like your average internet news host, and it's doing phenomenally well. They realized, like, hey, we need a space on the internet, but we also have to match that energy. We also have to give people what they're actually used to, what they're familiar with, what they want to consume. If we just throw up our regular Jesse Waters at 8 p.m., listen, YouTube, the internet's not the right audience for that. And Netflix needs to realize this, that like Netflix, you're really good at what you're doing. You're really good at being,
and you should not undersell how good Netflix is doing right now in comparison to all the other streaming services. They really do dominate the landscape of streaming, but I feel like he's comparing apples to oranges in a lot of ways. He's not, because for the most part, all forms of media and entertainment now are competing for your eyeballs in a way that just didn't need to be done 40 years ago. We were talking the other day about, I think last Friday, about, the death of the celebrity. And I said, that's because celebrities were anointed by corporations and networks back in the day. So, the names that got famous because executives and studio heads put them on every channel, and they were only owned by a few people. All the entertainment was centralized, so everybody coalesced around these people. Now there's a micro celebrity on every corner that hits out to some very, very specific market, and you don't really see, like, you see a lot more micro celebrities coming from the realm of YouTube and influencers and up-and-coming creators than you do from actors who you consider to be like Netflix actors.
You have to know your lane, right?
Yeah.
So like, I think a good way to compare this is like Netflix, you're like a 4 or 5-star hotel. Yes, when people go and stay there, they enjoy it, but it's not what they always want to do. Most people are going to find the 3-star hotel, which is YouTube, right?
Yeah.
There's more of it. There's more options out there. It's cheaper. It's easier to do. And I think they just need to know their lane. Like when someone wants to sit down at home and relax, right? Yeah, they'll turn on Netflix. When someone's on the go, if I have 15 minutes between appointments or something, I'm not going to load up a Netflix show. I'm going to load up a YouTube video.
I think one of the reasons is in that business model, you have to continue to try and grow. It's why they've pushed into live sports in the same way.
I don't think that's a completely... I mean, I think if you look at like Peacock... Mm-hmm. Their golf events are now being streamed live on Peacock. I think that was the natural progression because.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like
companies,
it makes sense that you naturally progress and you try to gather up as much of the entertainment sphere as possible, which is why people thought it was weird when Mr. Beast was starting to go over to Amazon Prime. But what they said is like, look, these are the creators of the future and these are the people that they want to work with. And that scares a lot of regular Hollywood celebrities because they've been insulated by the industry as opposed to these people. Look, there was this article going around where, have you ever seen the fake picture of like a guy who looks like Mr. Beast flying commercial? And everyone's like, looks like Mr. Beast fell on hard times. And he responded to that personally and said, look, I laugh about this every time I see it because there have been plenty of times where I've had to take like a coach flight because I needed to get somewhere and I just sit in the back and everybody there is already a fan.
Yeah.
So they're more relatable to people. Even if I think a lot of times that is a facade, they are inherently more relatable to people. People are sick of the traditional studio structure. And if you want to go make something like a documentary or a short film about something that you're passionate about, you're not going to go pitch that to Netflix. That's not a thing. That's not a thing unless you already work in that industry. You're going to go and find a way to make it yourself.
So with live sports, that was something that was on TV. Netflix is replacing TV. And right now it sounds like from his comments, he wants to replace the internet too, which doesn't make sense. Like you can take a Mr. Beast and put him on a TV show. You can't really do the opposite. Now, I will say what Netflix could do, be very easy for them to do. It's something that National Geographic, the History Channel, what they do is they'll put one episode or maybe a handful of episodes from one of their series, they'll put it on free on YouTube with ads. So they're getting a ton of ad rev, but they're not putting their whole catalog there. It's like, hey, if you like this show and you want to continue watching this show, you have to go sign up for Netflix. That's something they could do.
Honestly, there's millions of movies for free on YouTube.
Yep.
Like millions of
And
movies.
you know what it is? And it's something that you tout all the time is the Tubi model.
Yep.
It's the
people
freebie.
like people were just talking about that, and there's somebody who goes, Tubi has some, who is it? I just saw here. Said Tubi has some underrated classics. Yes, Tubi and the Roku channel both do.
Tubi and Freevee and
Freevee doesn't even exist anymore. Technically.
Oh, does it?
I mean, it's all back on Amazon Prime.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I think you can still use the Freevee app, but it's not technically.
I think that model has proven to work, and it's technically what YouTube is doing. And so it's like, listen, you're never going to replace. No one's going to load up a Netflix app to watch a Mr. Beast video. It's not going to happen. YouTube is synonymous with internet video. Yeah. Right. So.
They're different markets.
I mean, if you wanted,
but you're all competing for the same.
If you wanted just to generate waves in the press, he did his job. Yep. But I'd be really curious, dude. Netflix tried to launch games, and I haven't met a single person that plays Netflix games.
I know.
Who are these people? Yeah. And they keep adding new games.
Yeah.
Who are these people that are playing the Netflix games?
It's like our show. We have one person who watches us from a Nintendo Wii.
That's awesome.
If that's you, we love you. That's all right. Cool. I think it's a difference in model, and I do want to. There's one quote I thought at the end here was kind of funny. He says, Sarando says that creators should not look over their shoulders all the time at the competition, then claim that he doesn't want to be snotty about it, but he doesn't really waste much time worrying about the competition. He says YouTube represents. He doesn't really worry about the competition that YouTube represents to Netflix. He's lying. No CEO who takes his job seriously, whose entire business model is to worry about competing platforms for eyeballs, doesn't think about the competition. I don't think about that for a second. All of these companies analyze how the other companies are doing, what's working, what isn't. On the positive side of things, they make changes and they update, or you end up doing the crap that Max is doing, where they get rid of the HBO part, which is what everybody knows, and just go to Max and then just change their logo to a new color and say that it's new.
I was thinking,
they care. They're paying attention.
That was stuck in my head for like a solid 20 minutes last night about the HBO Max progression. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't make sense. I was trying to give it like devil's advocate, like reasoning, and I could not come up with a reason
as to
why they did what they did. Like if the end goal,
if I had to guess,
was just Max, then why didn't you do that right off the bat?
If I had to guess, it would have to do with the fact that they merged with not HGTV. Who's the like one of these like lifestyle companies like that they merged with is also there. And can somebody tell me which one that is? I don't remember which one it is, but they merged and they were both HBO Max and this other one, which was like home improvement shows. And
well, the only reasoning I could kind of come up with was without giving like too much shock to the brand. Because if you notice what they did is they changed it from HBO Go gray to HBO Go purple, then HBO Go purple to Max Purple, and then Max Purple to Max Gray. So it's like maybe that was just their slow roll and completely doing their brand redesign without too much shock to the core or to the system. But honestly, I also was sitting there thinking, I'm like, Max, I call it Max now. I don't even think of HBO anymore. So it was successful.
Discovery.
Okay.
Yeah, Discovery.
Okay.
I couldn't think of it. It was. Thank you guys, Discovery Plus, which arguably does better business for them. Funnily enough. All right, let's move on. We got a bunch of other stuff to get into today, and we will get to all of the super chats at the end. So do not worry, guys. I want to talk about this specifically because I was watching this before we went live. And it made me a tad bit introspective, I suppose. And I watched this performance and I wanted to get everybody's kind of perspective on it because a woman put out a tweet and she said, "Is there a reason we don't make music that sounds like this anymore? Did it morph into something else?" And what we're looking at here, guys, is this. Thank you. We'll start over. Hold on. Why don't we make music like this anymore?
I don't know why.
Okay.
Do you have this available for like a ringtone?
No, but the intro music is like a 1 hour loop on YouTube now. Carter made.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You should get it on the Apple Store for like 99 cents. Text tone,
maybe we
ringtone.
should do that. Remember when you had to pay 99 cents for a ringtone,
or
guys?
the callback? What was it? When you'd call someone, a song would play. You remember that one?
Bro, that's just called a ringtone.
No. When I would call you, instead of it like the dial, like the ringtone, it would be like music playing until you picked up.
Yeah, that's a ringtone.
No. While I'm on the phone dialing you.
Oh, so you hear it.
I hear it.
Oh, weird.
You never knew about that?
No.
I forget what it was called.
Yeah.
Chat would know.
Okay.
But
All right, so I want to talk about this. So I want to ask you guys what you think happened to music. And this comes up because right before we were going live today, I actually called an audible and I switched topics because a woman put out this tweet in which she talks about this viral clip. It goes viral every so often, far more than just one or two times, of the Goo Goo Dolls performing Iris live in 2004. And it's pouring rain. And she says, is there a reason we don't make music that sounds like this anymore? Or did it morph into something else? So let's watch the clip first. I don't know if we're going to get copyrighted. It's live. We probably
it's
will.
a really good live performance.
But we'll play. And I know it's good because Kellen was humming it after he was
That's a good
whistling it
song.
afterwards. So let's listen to this clip here and then we'll talk about it.
And I'd give up forever to touch you, 'cause I know that you feel me somehow. You're the closest to heaven that I'll ever be, and I
With the
don't
rain falling,
wanna
dude.
go home right now, 'cause all I can taste is this moment, and all I can breathe is your life. And I don't wanna see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand where everything's made to be broken. I just want you to know I
Okay.
am.
I wish we'd have Tim here for this discussion. I feel like he'd actually want to talk about this. So she asks why nobody makes music like this anymore. I did like quote tweet it myself. I said vulnerability and sincerity are no longer seen as virtues because society lives online. Snark and sarcasm dominate the cultural tone. The only time we embrace vulnerability is when we talk about nostalgia, which is oddly enough, it's a bit paradoxical because we are talking a little bit about nostalgia
so
here.
I think there's three parts here. First is the decentralization of music.
Mhm.
There's people have their favorite. There's bands that have a cult following
Well, I
that
mean, they talk
we've
about
never
it, like,
heard of.
there's like, well, no, so that's the thing. Bands, like the joke is that bands have disappeared.
It's not true though.
It's not true. There is plenty of music like this. The difference is that at this time, this was being championed by the labels
Sure,
and on the
that's-
Hot
and that was my
100. So
second
that's
part.
that's the more important.
That
part
was
of
my
it.
second point. Was it's you're she's kind of describing what she's witnessing and noticing is the fact that these labels or these streaming services, so Apple Music, Spotify, they're choosing certain genres now to promote, which is your pop star, and rap. Honestly, I'd say those two categories probably make up a majority of like the Hot 100, rap and pop.
Yes.
The alternative rock, the indie rock, hard rock, all of the rock genres they're not interested in promoting those, and that has a direct result on the casual listeners, which the music you casually listen to when you're shopping for groceries, it's playing over the speakers. When you're in your car and you're not streaming music, it's just the radio, that influences your music taste, right? Everyone has that song that they thought was so annoying, they couldn't stand it, and you listen to it enough, and then you find yourself like humming it or singing it at work. And you're like, damn it, I hate that song. Why am I singing it?
Yeah.
And so that definitely happens to like casual viewers. The third thing is genres change. No one's listening to big band music from the 20s and 30s, right? The singer songwriter Sinatra style, that's gone. The Beatles, the upbeat boy band rock band, that's gone. Like
I believe that
genres
this was in
change.
general. I tend to believe that this was culturally engineered in a way, if not intentionally, that the internet played a huge part in this and the way that we have become a more cynical and far less sincere form of ourselves because of the internet. So the response that I laughed at was basically saying like everyone embraces snark and cynicism as a way of avoiding being seen as cringe.
I agree.
So what it is that a lot of times there's a lot of introspection that somebody has to go through and a willingness to put yourself out there, that with music like this at this time, like they were talking about themes like love and heartbreak and stuff like that now doesn't dominate the cultural narrative in that genre. What it does is people talk about that in an angry sense. in YouTube shorts and on Instagram and stuff like that. And the difference was, like, even with music like this, there was a sense, and to be fair, this song was considered almost overly sincere at the time. Like, Gen Xers did make fun of it. I saw that. I asked my brother. But I think what it was is, remember when you talked about guilty pleasures and you had guilty pleasures that you listened to? I kind of abhor that idea. I think if you like something, you like it, and you don't need to apologize to anyone for liking it. But there's
Like
almost
Coldplay.
like, there is no catharsis anymore because everybody is too worried about being seen as cringe, and you have to be too deep into the snark, too cynical, and we have too little hope. The song was in 2004 that he performed this, but these songs that came out in 96, 97, 98, this was the turn of this, like, this was the millennium.
So,
okay, there was hope for the future at that time. There is no lingering hope for the future anymore.
I think it's the Instagram effect, right? And that also kind of plays into what music people are willing to promote and say that they like, right? You don't, I mean, now with the TikTok girls, you see them posting videos of them crying. But for probably a decade plus, what was Instagram? It was the perfect little slice of your life. 98% of your life could be garbage, but that 2%, that's okay or awesome, you're posting that on Instagram, and that's what everyone sees of each other.
I mean,
it's
worse the people that consistently post their worst moments.
I
It's
know. Well, so we might see a reversal with the way, if this TikTok trend holds up, with, you know, all these videos of people crying their eyes out and then posting the video on. First, they got to set up their tripod, but you know, once they hit that send button. So if that trend continues, maybe we will see a resurgence in the super emotional music that isn't afraid to.
Yeah. There's a 20 here from Shane H. Wilder, says the reason music has been so passionless has a lot to do with people living alone and having no real world connection. Generic modern pop and hip hop are easily marketable. Also, I will listen to big band music, so STFU, Kellen.
It's not like I said. Listen, most people aren't listening to it anymore, right?
Yes.
That's generally considered wedding music. The pop music in its heyday, it was pop music, but now it's designated as just like wedding music or formal event music.
I loved rap music. I grew up listening to gangster rap. Okay, now these types of bands, whether we're talking about Matchbox 20, Third Eye Blind, what were the other ones, like Counting Crows, the Gin Blossoms, they were telling the stories about, like, middle class white guys, like the social troubles and the emotional troubles of middle class white men, which resonated with America at the time.
I would also say, though, like, if you look at the music that's popular now, the kind of like the indie pop star and then rap music, what was going on when the internet first started? Those were not the music that was popular. So these when
are we talking about when the internet started?
Like social media.
If we're talking about MySpace, then it was email.
I'd say about 2005 to 2015, around there, when internet really started becoming widely adopted, and SoundCloud. Remember when SoundCloud was big? Like, I think those genres, the independent pop star and the rapper, flourished online.
I mean, that was like Post Malone in the SoundCloud days, like 2018.
And I think he's on the end of that. Yeah. So you have all those artists, and that was the music everywhere on the internet that people. So if you weren't listening to the radio or the top 40, you were going on the internet, and that's what you found is a bunch of rappers on SoundCloud. You saw, what was that website that you could, like, subscribe to people and they get access to their art and music? I forget. There was some. Anyway. Okay. That was the music of the internet, and now that these big companies, like, you have Apple Music, Spotify, you have iHeartRadio, when they moved into the internet, they saw what was popular and then just kind of put that on a pedestal, you know? And that's why Kendrick Lamar was performing at the Super Bowl halftime this year, and then 20 years ago it was Creed.
I think the labels have a lot to do with this.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the labels are kind of at fault for this, and it bums me out because I feel like if there was a more modern embracing of this type of music and it was being given back to you by the dominant powers that be in the industry, that people might let down their guard a bit. And I kind of like the adage where they're like, one must just embrace the cringe, just be one with the cringe, accept that you will all be cringe at one time or another, and you feel free.
I agree with the sentiment that you said about, like, people are afraid to be viewed as cringe, but that isn't stopping music. Like Billie Eilish, that's kind of her thing. She gets way too dark and emotional.
Dark and emotional is just edgy, which is still trying to avoid cringe.
Yeah, okay, but
like there is a distinct pattern of, even if you embrace the emotions, you don't embrace it in a manner that's sincere or vulnerable. I don't consider that to be vulnerable.
I got you.
I consider it to be wannabe, edgy, and dark.
But you also have to acknowledge too that with the rise of this like trad influencer and stuff, men are not allowed to make this kind of music. In the tradcon kind of sphere, men are not allowed to get on stage with the guitar and get super emotional, right? You're not supposed to show your feelings in that world.
Well,
You're supposed to be the strong guy that prevails.
It still exists. It's like you said, it's just not pushed by the labels, and it's not on the top 40 like it used to be. I was listening to there's an artist I really like named Almond Brown, who does, I guess, like indie rock, and I was kind of looking at the lyrics to a song called Between the Wars, which is about like moments of respite for a couple that fights all the time, but it's kind of layered in a way that's very haunting, and I really, really enjoyed that. But they're not going to play that on radio stations. It doesn't work in the same way, and that was something that, as much as I like it, it's not nearly as catchy as music was in the 90s.
I also think though too, these big labels are probably transitioning away from like mass appeal and to like, hey, what can we get into movies and TV shows and video games?
But there's a reason why now that Creed is having their revival, because this era makes people feel
decentralization. Something. It's not just that though. It's
I'm saying that's the market speaking.
The younger you get now, the more crazy people's music tastes are. Like it used to be, like if you go up to your average Gen Xer, they'll give you a genre or two of the music they like. If you go up to the Gen Alpha kid, it's going to be all over the place.
No, so what they were saying is like, so if you ask a boomer, a Gen Xer, or a millennial like who their favorite artist is, they will give you an artist name. If you ask like a Gen Alpha or sometimes even a Gen Z, they just like
they put on
Spotify. I put on Spotify this genre.
Yeah.
Like people don't like. I remember like. I don't remember who it was. He was doing like a street interview, and he's like, he just felt like he was just kind of mortified. He's like, you don't have a favorite musical art? Like, how sad.
I don't have a favorite artist. It's definitely
I mean, do you have like a famous artist at one time?
Well,
or
I would say
never?
if anyone that I would consider being my favorite artist would not be a recent musician. It'd be someone like Billy Joel. Like what would make someone a favorite artist for me is that I enjoy pretty much all of their music, every song they put out. There's some artists that like there's a couple of their songs that I like, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right? Amazing songs, but I don't listen to anything past that. Then there's artists no matter what song you put on, it's gonna be good. Like Billy Joel, Sinatra, the Eagles, Aerosmith.
There have been a couple artists in the last few years that ended up making music where almost the entire album I really, really enjoy. Dermot Kennedy, I like his more electronic stuff earlier on, but pretty much every album he makes I enjoy, and it's not the genre I typically listen to.
Yeah, it's
like
just because I'm Gen Z, so it's like I don't think it's wild for my peers to not have a favorite artist. And it's like when we grew up, we were I had an iPod like with no internet connection in middle school, right? And so I had to find songs, but quickly once I got into the real world, streaming was ubiquitous. Everyone's on Apple Music or Spotify, so the music as we know we've really grown up with has been decentralized. It wasn't like you have to go to the store and buy a CD or listen to MTV and see what songs they're playing. You have the entire, like basically all music.
Well, you're
that's
kind
ever
of
existed at your
paralyzed by
fingertips.
choice now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the illusion of choice.
I don't know. I thought it was interesting, and this is just one of those things where I do tend to be more. It's oddly a bit of nostalgia on my part, but I do wonder sometimes why the culture kind of pushes itself in the direction that it does. And I do think that as much as the culture has changed because of decentralization, I think that the labels have made conscious efforts not to promote this with male artists. I do like Taylor Swift could still be classified as somebody who talks about emotional stuff, but that's, female artists I do believe are different. And at this time, it would have looked different. That same type of thing would have existed at that time for women as well. There would have been female indie stars like Natalie Imbruglia or Lisa Loeb that were making music that would have spoke to women's issues at the time.
Do you find your music taste changing as you get older?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the stuff that I liked when I was younger, I still like.
Sure.
But I've gone in other directions. One of the things like I love is I do like when YouTube producers take rap songs and mix them with some modern country songs, because I enjoy the way that they really do unique producing.
They tried to, there was a moment there.
There's a guy named Producer Lucas who does really good Rod Wave mix mashups, and Rod Wave is probably my favorite artist working right now, meaning that if I'm talking about like a hip hop artist that puts out music on a regular basis, I don't think that there's a song of his that I wouldn't be able to like listen to the whole way through. Granted, songs are shorter now than they used to be, but I really like Rod Wave.
As I get older, I like the less chaotic the song is, the more I enjoy it. So like when I was in high school, I was listening to like basically all rap and everything. And as I get older, I mean, sure, it's time spent driving in the car, but I'm like, this is too much for me right now. Like I need something a little bit more lower tempo, calmer. So I've like more alternative rock, the stuff like the Goo Goo Dolls that we're listening to.
Listen to the Distillers. Listen to old Distillers. Very, very good. All right, let's do these super chats and let's get through them here. We'll go all the way back up to the top here, everybody, and we will get through all of them. We promise. Here we go. That there. 1 second. All right. Shane H. Wilder says, "Happy Taco Tuesday, Brett and Mary. Nice April Fool's thumbnail. I dropped the PCC Adams Family short. I only apologize to Kellen for making him thing." He then said later he apologized for saying it was an April Fool's joke. It wasn't an April Fool's joke. But Mary should be back tomorrow. She was feeling under the weather today. You know, all things pending.
You got it. She was covering the Goo Goo Dolls song.
That's what it was. She was in the rain, and then like you get sick.
You get a cold. You're singing for 2 hours. Yep. These things happen.
All right. Greg Duvier says, actually, you know what? Let me adjust this here. All right. Greg Duvier says, after being on IRL for 2 nights, Tim has able to convince Brett to finally watch Star Trek: The Next Generation. No, I will not be watching Star Trek. I apologize. It's just not going to happen.
I never got into Star Trek.
But thank you for super chatting, and thank you for watching. It was a lot of fun last night. Greg Duvier says, Mary and Phil were off making a music video. They were both gone on Friday and Monday. Also could have been doing GONGO fundraising, or both. Let's go.
Yeah, it's a song, part of a larger album that is, all proceeds are going to saving the GONGO.
Exactly. Greg Duvier says, what the hell, put a girl on, or Surge, he follows me. Yes, unfortunately, it's my fault. They weren't even technical difficulties. They were technical failures on my part today, because I should have done a sound check.
I just feel bad that you made Surge cry.
I know. I'll send Serge a text after I feel bad. BR Cody says, watch Blue Ridge, 7 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, it's only 6 episodes. It helps if you go in with like low expectations. If you go into Blue Ridge and you imagine that you're about to watch like a Hallmark version of the show Longmire, you will have your sights set appropriately middling. And I think that made it all the better, but I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of good. I did, however, have one critique, and somebody who may be more informed might be able to better inform me, but I was watching it, and his holster that he keeps his service weapon in definitely looked like an inside the waistband holster that he was using clipped to the outside of his pants. So it didn't have like a retention belt or like a retention on it at all. And what it was it was just the clip. And it didn't fasten, like it didn't have the 2 clips that fasten to the belt, or at the very least, it didn't have a paddle that goes to the inside of the belt to keep the holster secure. It was just the clip that's normally there to go inside the waistband, perhaps if you were carrying like small of the waist. It was like, I watched it and I was like, but I get annoyed when I watch things and they call a silencer a suppressor, or they call a magazine, the magazine a clip. But I just noticed it. And like, again, the show was appropriately looking to be low budget. So if it was something like that, I fully understand.
Yeah. But certain things like clip and mag, there are certain things that do upset me too.
No. Okay. So I have I can add. So I only get annoyed if it's like somebody in law enforcement or the military that makes the mistake. If it's a civilian, I will chalk it up to it being colloquial and not caring.
That was my point.
But yeah. All right. But I'm a civilian and I know the difference. So, you know. All right. What do we got here? Shane H. Wilder says, dang, now I feel like an ass for making this, for thinking this was an April Fool's joke. I guess I'll just have to live with Kellen. Prayers for Mary's speedy recovery.
Sorry, bud.
All right. Now the chat's like, yes, it is. Yes, it is a suppressor, but they always say silencer. I always get excited when they say the right thing. All right. Pop Culture Junkie says, Brett, do you feel there are still any remaining cultural domino effects from Gamergate, or is it old news? I'm not sure.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the Gamergate thing, I was a little bit young for that phenomenon when that was really going on. But from what I've seen as a video game industry as a whole is women embraced digital art and game design, men did not, and now that those people have aged into the working class, that's who's in these development teams. That's who's on these development teams. Like they show the picture of Halo 3's dev team versus like the newest Halo, and it's like it goes from like 90% men to 90% women. It's like, well, men, like I remember the kids that were in digital art in high school. Yeah. They were not guys. It was all women. So it's like, I think that's a large part of it's just like the people that are actually working on these games and to develop those skills, it's women have embraced it, men have kind of put it by the wayside, but I think that's changing now.
Yeah, and I think you can't actually outrun the effects of something that, you know, significant to the culture. I think it's going to be felt for a long time. In the chat, Olivia says, one time we were watching something and Brett paused it and said, please don't say silencer. Please don't say silencer. And he hit play and the next word was silencer and he was so disappointed. That literally did happen.
You have to have like watch along somehow.
I would love, like if this show wasn't the format that it was, I would just do a whole bunch of like live EFAP.
You can do Discord or something.
Yeah, like every frame of pause. The funny thing was that I don't remember even which show we were watching when that happened, but it was very funny. I just expect them to get it wrong. It's fine. All right, Pop Culture Junkie says some studios clandestinely pay third-party businesses to rig the audience score, always one or two steps ahead, maybe, of what measures that are being taken to stop manipulation. Well, I mean, if I was in the if I was a greedy marketing executive and I wanted my product to do as well as possible, I would just work that into the marketing budget. I would. Shane H. Wilder says, have Serge sit in Kellen's lap, problem solved. Can't do that.
Nah, dude. He was too upset. It wouldn't have been good.
Now I feel bad. Weary Traveler says, women paid to push degeneracy amongst the masses thinks nobody is happy. What's new? He's talking about Chappell Roan. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if she's officially done paid to do that, but it's a byproduct of it.
I mean, we see enough videos of these women crying on camera saying they waited too long. Well, get ready for a lot more. I mean, it sucks, but it's what's going to happen. Biology is strong.
All right. Shane H. Wilder says, dinks stink. Or he says, dinks stinks. Slap it on a bumper sticker. Also, Chappell Roan can say that people with kids aren't happy. Sure looks very depressed in her eyes. Yeah, that was, I saw Lydia posted underneath. Says, Chappell Roan looks like the unhappiest person I've ever seen. Like, she never looks happy.
She actually looks a lot happier before the fame.
Yeah.
When she was, like I said, a lowly TikTok star.
Man, Cole was right when he said being broke was better.
But... whatever.
That's what J. Cole said.
Being broke was what?
Being broke is better.
Yeah. Maybe. For some things.
Friends like you for you.
Yeah, that's true.
Isaac S. says, what y'all's thoughts on Gal and Rachel Zegler potentially coming to the MCU? Also, thoughts on Minecraft Jack Black toys? Creepy or funny? I mean, they were creepy to me, but, the Jack Black.
He's kind of the new Danny DeVito. So it's like everyone just accepts that he's a ridiculous looking person, and you know.
As for Gal Gadot and Rachel, I said that the funniest thing, and I think I said this on WDW Pro. I said the funniest thing that Kathleen Kennedy could do if she was on her way out and she just wanted to put the middle finger up one last time would be to fire Daisy Ridley and hire Rachel Zegler and recast Ray, and then like mandate that the movie gets made somehow in her contract. Like they can't, like if they don't, like she gets like $250 gazillion if they don't make the movie with Rachel Zegler. That's what I would do if I was Kathleen Kennedy. I wanted to stick to the man.
Who is the girl from, what's the girl's name from How to Get Away with Murder?
Viola Davis.
She wants to go join the MCU too. Apparently she's like obsessed with the MCU movies.
I mean, she said like she's watched them all with her kids.
Like
I mean,
multiple times, like five times.
I hate it when actors say that stuff. So right now, Finn Jones, who played Iron Fist, was like, "Come on, guys!" Like everybody hated him as Iron Fist so much that he's like, "Come on, guys, give me another chance. I'll do better. I swear." I kind of love that it's just blatantly like, "I want the money," but they couch it as like, "I just want another chance to be in the MCU," or "Aw shucks, I just want to be in the MCU." You want the money.
What was that weird show they did like 10 years ago? It was a Marvel, it might have been X-Men universe, with the guy, he had like telekinesis.
Are you talking about not the Eternals?
No, it was not like a Disney Marvel project. It was like cable TV. Shoot, I would like them to bring that character back.
What?
Yeah, Chad will know. I'll look it up. Well,
you're not talking about the Inhumans, are you?
No,
that was like ABC.
No, I'll look it up.
Legion.
Yeah.
Thank you, chat.
Legion. Yeah, that's a character. I mean, I was kind of bummed that show got canceled, but it became so procedural and like.
I love procedural. Make everything procedural.
Have you seen Legion?
No.
You might really enjoy it then.
I was going to start watching it like the same time that Preacher was out, and I kind of fell off all of it.
I finished Preacher. That was good. It was weird, but it was good.
All right, let's continue.
Heroes was good too, chat, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Like Heroes first season was really good. I fell off after first season.
Yeah,
Heroes
they
was
didn't
amazing.
quite know
I
what to
still
do.
need to. Well, it was a victim of the writer's strike in 2007.
Okay.
I still need to watch Alphas, which I think only got one season, and people said was really good, but then never got more. The Harsh Truth says it seems like John Boyega cries about Star Wars whenever he feels his fame begins to wane. Well, it's sad. Award-winning name we won't pronounce says, "You can censor my name, but you can never take away my award." Well, we never would. We would never taint your name.
I will.
By doing that.
I'll do it.
Arsenal Man says, "They're just scattered in." You mean like the real world? That's true. Jason Dutton says, "No relation to Yellowstone. Also, I will forever hate Disney Star Wars for denying us a stormtrooper turned Jedi. The setup was there too." Yep. Jeff says, "I show speed thing is stupid. The cosplayer was being accurate. Second to the character. They are well known for racism. Now she's being sued, doxxed, and threatened." Okay. DCNC says, "Star Wars, obligatory reminder that Andor exists." Yes, a lot of people love Andor. They put season 1 on Hulu to try and get people interested in season 2.
Was it good? I saw a lot of people commenting.
I know
about
people
it.
said that it's great, but it's not like Star Wars. So it's very different from a traditional Star Wars story. DCNC says, "The F is on your hat, Kellen."
It's the state of Maryland.
There you go.
Little pin.
People
my
in Maryland
hometown.
really love their flag.
Dude, it's really cool. I will say Tennessee's up there, though. Tennessee is a really cool flag as well. But Maryland, it's not even close, dude. It's...
BC says Brett needs to watch Miami Vice TV show. I know. I love the Miami Vice movie, but I've never watched the show, and I need to watch it. I was just reading this thread earlier about, they were showing stills from American Gangster and Zodiac, talking about how good digital filmmaking already was capable of being back in 2007. I love both of those movies. I especially love American Gangster. Kenneth Hart says, y'all spoke of 2000s princess movies, and thinking of the Princess Diaries with Anne Hathaway, Chasing Liberty with Moore was better. Was that Mandy Moore? Is that Mandy Moore? Classy remake of Roman Holiday. I didn't watch princess movies, so I don't know. But it sounds like it would have been Mandy Moore. Unless it's Demi Moore. I don't know. But it sounds like Mandy Moore. Let's keep going. DCNC says, Kellen's hat, free occupied Northern Virginia.
Yeah. It's crazy seeing all the homes for sale. I drove through the area, Northern Virginia, where all the USAID money was funneling through. And you see it with a different light now.
It is true, like, those houses are insane.
Yeah.
Like, insane.
Yeah.
Not just insane, but the type of thing where it's like, we traveled at one point and we drove by a house that was like under construction. It was like being built. And when we came back like a week later, a bunch of work had already been done on it. And that's how you know they got money, because work is being done quickly.
Well, people also don't realize, because they're not small houses, they're big houses. But a lot of people are like, oh, I've seen mansions before. These aren't mansions. Well, it's like, it's not because they couldn't. Space is limited. So they build these as big as they can with the space that they have. They could be way bigger. And it's not just a big house. It's always like completely unique and designed, and it's like the Hunger Games.
Yeah. We are all but their peasants. It's sad. The Last of My Kind says, YouTube made me send it 2 times. Oh, well, I blame Disney. That was his tweet about Finn and being shrunk on the poster. Yes, we thank you, though. And it was Disney's fault. We'll blame them. Shane H. Wilder says, Tubi and Roku channels are great. Netflix is meh. Netflix does the awful Mary movie. Then Prime shows them how it's done with House of David. Are you still liking that, my friend? I saw today and watched that Jeremy Johns did a review for The Chosen, like The Last Supper Part 1. And it was kind of cool because he did this review and he clearly has knowledge of the Bible, or at least an upbringing in religion, because he knows a lot. Or he knows way more than I would know. But he basically, he hasn't watched The Chosen. He just went and saw it and jumped right in. But he said it was a good time, no alcohol required. So you should go watch that review if you've been following The Chosen. But I don't know if those episodes are out yet, because I think they said they're pre-releasing them in theaters. Because then they're going to do like every like couple of weeks or something, they're doing a couple of releases of 2 episodes of The Chosen of the new season or whatever.
I actually think the release schedule that I think it might be an Amazon thing, but Invincible did this where they released the first 3 episodes and then they release weekly, so they hook you in real hard.
I mean, that's what most of these do now. They release 2 at a time. One thing I think Reacher only did 1, which I really liked. They only did 1. It might have been some show that I watched recently premiered and only did 1 episode, which I really, really was like good.
If it's a slow start to the season where they're building the new plot, I think it's fair to do 2 or 3 episodes at just the beginning of the season and then release weekly. But if they don't get you in the first episode, like, why would you keep watching?
Yep. I mean, I don't even have that attention span. They got like 15 minutes to hook me.
Really? If I start a show, I'm gonna finish it. Like,
Mary said that I should have given up like channel surfing for Lent, and like if you turn on an episode, you have to finish the episode. I'm like, there's impossible, and then there's that.
Wait, listen, did you say you had to pay attention? Could it just be on in the background?
That's worse.
Is that cheating?
Arguably worse. Like, it's just, I mean, that's a lot of time when it's, the reason I rewatch stuff is because a lot of times I'm just, dicking around on my phone, for lack of a better word. TCNC says, Black Mirror Bandersnatch, the choose your own adventure thing on Netflix, super cool.
It was fun. Very gimmicky, though.
I mean, that's a gimmick. I mean, choose your own adventure in general is a gimmick. I remember at one point, Hawaii Five-0 did a thing where you could vote for the ending of the episode live.
Oh, interesting.
I was like, man, TV is turning into a circus.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Brian Bledsoe says, as someone that uses Fandango almost exclusively and goes to different chains frequently, it's convenient. Also, you have the option of credit to refund to your card along with other little perks. All right, cool. I'm never going to use it, but I appreciate that. Wodenshot says, that's not rain, that's liquid estrogen. Well, you just don't have any love in your heart, Wodenshot. Not an ounce of love.
Actually, when you first played the clip, I wasn't sure if it was actually raining or if that was part of their set, or they just is this a fake rain on them.
That would have been sad. I mean, that would have been really funny. Like, everybody and then somebody edits out the clips of the audience so that, like, you don't realize that it was just part of the gimmick.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, man, look how emotional it was back then. They're like, no, that was manufactured.
There's a ride. I think it's in Universal Studios. I could be wrong. But they have one of those like fake. They show like what fake rain looks like on a movie set. It's like you're basically driving through a giant movie set. One of them has those fake things, and it's truly like, it's like a downpour.
Yeah, it is. It's not like it just drizzles. It's a freaking
it's crazy.
And the fake snow is like poisonous, basically. Like you're gonna die from the fake snow.
Possibly.
Maybe. Omega Red Fan says you can't just upload onto one place anymore. Now people expect successful music to also be on everything. Spotify, especially Bandcamp.
Well, I think it true like Apple Music and Spotify's made it really easy for like independent artists just to release their own stuff on those platforms. So I think it's kind of like there's no reason not to anymore, you know?
Yeah.
There's no reason not to go as many places as you can.
Fear me, it's Bree in the chat says, I used to be OCD about finishing shows, but then I realized the older I got, the shorter my life is getting. So why waste it watching garbage? Bro, I could be 3 episodes from the end. If I lose interest, I just shut that crap off. I don't give a crap. I don't care. Like I have when it comes to television and movies, I have zero sense of completionism. I don't need to see the end. I'm okay with it.
No loyalty, Brett.
Nah. No. Not that John Stewart says country music still has men getting emotional. Okay.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Shane H. Wilder says Alice Cooper is my favorite artist, and Whiter Shade of Pale by Procol Harum is my favorite song, even though I wasn't alive when either was popular. Okay. There's a ton of music that I liked growing up that was definitely not for me. Like it was for a generation older than me. But most of the rap music that I grew up loving was like, as much as they say it was for, people 18 plus given the parental advisory stick, it was for teenagers.
Dude,
they made it for teenagers.
There was the Gorillaz CD that came out. I don't know what year it was, but they had a parental advisor sticker on it, and my mom wouldn't let me get it.
No!
I'm like, looking in hindsight, I'm like, oh my god, the Gorillaz was so tame compared to the shit that's out there. But
Rhaegar Targaryen says, as former Navy, my veteran buddies and I always laugh at how bad Hollywood messes up basic military etiquette and procedures, also improper gun safety. They've gotten better for the most part with not gun safety, but with handling of firearms. Like they're not just like holding the gun like this or like down at the floor. They're keeping it close to the body, bringing the weapon up to the workspace and stuff like that, pushing out when they draw.
But you've seen these viral videos from like Memphis and Chicago, and you see how people use these firearms.
Well, I'm saying that.
So
I'm saying specifically for law enforcement, with like people who are expected in story to know what they're doing. Like in the new season of Reacher, as incredulous as most of it is, Neely has very good she seems to look like she knows what she's doing when she's holding a firearm. I mean, there's flourishes a lot of the time and stuff that's clearly done for effect, but it looks like it's been trained well by whoever's teaching
I
them.
think the standard should be Keanu Reeves and his regimen that he went through for John Wick. I think that should be the standard for any actor handling a firearm.
I mean, you have to do the one-handed press check every time?
Well, you've seen those videos of him going through the course, right?
Yep. I mean, Terran Tactical trains a lot of the people in Hollywood. So,
okay.
Yeah. That's where that was done.
Okay.
Was at Terran Tactical. DC&C says, you guys going to see Riff Raff?
Where?
Pete Donovan says, happy 2 times Testosterone Tuesday. Well, we could make that a thing, but that would be a mouthful to get right every Tuesday.
2-time Testosterone Tuesday.
Because it's 2 guys rather than 1 guy and 1 girl. Shane H. Wilder says, House of David is excellent. The season finale will be Thursday with the battle against the Philistines and Goliath. Let's go.
I've been thinking about starting The Chosen.
I did at one point. I need to get back into it.
Just like, honestly, at this point, like, there's so many things that get canceled. I'm just like, it's a breath of fresh air when I see a new show that's got like 4 seasons. I'm like, okay, it's got to be decent. Excuse me, it's got to be decent enough if it's not being canceled.
right. Pete Donovan says, in Trump's voice, well, I guess I'm not going to do a Trump impression. Do you do a good Trump impression? I don't.
You should do it anyway, though.
No, I don't. He says, on this day, I hereby declare myself my candidacy for the President of the United States of America, Canada. We will annex the GONGO.
Wow.
Deliver justice for Mocha. And build Taco Bells in every town. Bigly. The problem
Very
is, guys,
nice.
is Trump... we talked last night on IRL about Trump talking about a third term and how he uses those types of incredulous comments to shift the news cycle. But when you go to Christmas dinner and Thanksgiving dinner and your liberal aunt hates you, just know that that's those comments that Trump makes that are the reason more than anything. It's the stuff that's designed to scare the crap out of low info voters who don't understand political theory or
So what
maneuvering.
you're suggesting is a preemptive strike and have your chat order Trump 2028 hats.
Yes. Oh, bro.
Show up
if you
to dinner
wanna-
prepared.
If you want to piss off your family, yes, wear a Trump 2028 hat.
Let's do it.
Yes, do that. All right. Shane H. Waller says, tomorrow I will be releasing an ad warning about the Lucko Seamus coffee. I filmed it Sunday and did the color grading and special effects yesterday. Yeah. Blur in the chat says, why do you bother with an aunt that hates you?
You have to.
I don't. Yeah, I just don't. I can't do that. I can't give up on.
As the penguins from
family.
Madagascar say, smile and nod, boys.
Yep.
That's all you can do.
Like you do what you have to
Like,
for family.
here's my
even-
thing. Like, with certain people that are so obsessed with politics and are so wrong, like, it's like talking to a brick wall.
Yep.
Like, who's really the one that looks ridiculous if you're standing there arguing with a brick wall? It's you, dude. So, like, you got to pick your battles, you know?
I can't bring it.
I do find it hilarious that it's the single liberal aunt has become such a stereotype.
Well, it's this.
Every family has
it's
it.
the inverse of the racist uncle,
Sure.
the right wing uncle.
Sure.
What they call the racist uncle, but it's really just your, not even right wing half the time, just kind of vaguely libertarian.
So it's basically just men versus women now. That is American politics.
yeah, I just say avoid talking about it.
Hmm.
There's nothing to be gained.
Just pretend you don't know anything.
You're not going to change their mind. It's like, oh wow, Elon's a Nazi. Huh?
Whoa,
that doesn't
that's
sound
crazy.
That doesn't sound good.
Uh-oh.
DCNC says riffraff, Bill Murray, Pete Davidson, Ed Harris, Jennifer Coolidge, Dustin Hoffman. Terrible opening weekend. Well, maybe Pete Davidson can do better now because I think he's got a girlfriend again. He's out traveling. So we're about $10 away from a third crisis party, guys.
Hey.
We should get there.
I feel like the show was better yesterday, but we're doing better with the chat today.
The problem was I screwed up with Surge, so that was my fault. It kind of interrupted the flow early on. I feel really bad about that. I need to send him a message. Pete Donovan says, "Lol, Brett, that was a legit good Trump impression."
Very nice.
It's,
Very good.
Unfortunately, like I don't actually listen to a lot of Trump speeches, so I don't. You kind of have to listen to speeches a lot to get good at the impression of somebody.
It's hard. It's hard to do.
High Voltage 75 says, Kellen, what's your dream car? Guys, let's see. Dave Whitley in the chat is right. Give this guy money.
What do you have a dream car, Brett?
I do not. I said my dream car would be to have something brand new that I know is going to last for a very, very long time, so I don't have to worry about it.
I would probably say either like a 58 Impala or have you seen the Mercedes-Benz, the one with the 6 wheels?
That's what you
the
want.
G63 6x6. It's basically just a war machine, dude. It's sick. But I don't know. I like a lot of cars, but I don't know if I have a dream car per se. It's like, dude, I'm Gen Z, man. We don't have favorites. There's too many cars. There's too many artists. Too many movies.
Olivia Clare says he's talking about the family he's marrying into, and he's correct. I think they're talking about. I don't no. Like I'm not even talking about my family
Plot
specifically.
twist: Brett is the liberal aunt.
I'm the liberal aunt in the family.
You should go there, and if there's someone saying, "Did you hear Elon was a Nazi?" It just make everything she says worse. Be like, not only that.
Yeah.
Did you see what he did at that speech?
He's cutting funding to all of these. Like, there are teachers that are losing their jobs because of Elon Musk.
It'd be like, not only is he a Nazi, did you see he wanted to ban cats?
I'm going to wear a shirt that says, like, God bless the Department of Education.
Save the DOE.
And save the DOE and Gulf of Mexico. That's what I'm going to do this year. I am your liberal aunt. Don't worry. Also, is it aunt or aunt? You decide.
Depends on the context.
All right. The last of my kind says Hollywood's #1 military mistake is nobody has haircut. One of my favorite examples of that was I love the show Graceland. At least I love the first season of Graceland. And in that first season, the Mike character goes undercover as like a dude in the army, like who was selling weapons from Camp Pendleton. And his haircut, he just has the most coiffed hair. Like it wasn't even popular hair for 2013. It was very like early 2000s, if anything. And it was so not a military haircut.
You should get a sign that says, "In this house, we believe in the GONGO."
That's a good idea too. Yes, and Cord is right. In this house, we do trust the science. DCNC says, take us out with some hobby motocross.
Jude, I'm so upset that you introduced me to that.
You love it. What are you talking about? High Voltage 75 says, Brett's dream car is a Jeep Wrangler with rubber ducks all over the dash. I don't know what the rubber ducks mean.
It's just their thing. I had this conversation over the weekend.
What does it mean?
It's just their thing. Stop overthinking it.
That can't be it.
If you go, next time you rent a car, rent a Jeep Wrangler if they have it, with no ducks, and go to like a Walmart parking lot. I wouldn't be surprised if you come back to a duck in the door handle. It's just their thing, man.
You just
You're in the tribe.
Skated by people put ducks in your door handle?
If you don't have one, yeah, to get you started. They're not going to break into your car and put it on the dash.
Why?
Because it's their thing.
What does it represent? You don't just do shit that doesn't...
Solidarity with Wrangler owners. I think the Jeep Patriot is also an acceptable model to use to do the rubber ducks in. But not like a Cherokee, dude. I see some people trying to do the ducks on the Jeep Cherokees and stuff. Like, you can't do that. Or the Wagoneer. You can't do that.
Olivia's telling me to stop yelling. I will not! Until somebody tells me what the hell the ducks mean.
I just told you.
That was, I don't consider that like an appropriate answer.
I'm sorry you don't like my explanation.
I don't like your, no.
You don't trust the science.
No,
dude.
I don't. I don't trust the science of ducks in
Jeep rubber ducky.
I don't trust the science. The worst part is like, okay, I would rather see the sticker, the stickers on the back of your car representing the size of your family. I would rather see that than the rubber ducks in the front.
I like the one that says, like, this car climbed a mountain. I'm like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. No cars climbing a mountain.
Super Dank says, lol, it just means you're part of the group. What group? What is this, some weird cult?
Kind of.
Do they have a leader? Or is it like Antifa?
No, here's the thing, and chat, you guys might not know this, and this might be in other metropolitan areas, but the DMV has this weird phenomenon where everyone gets Jeep Wrangler cars, kind of like the iconic off-road vehicle, and they keep them in pristine condition, and it pisses everyone off. Like, if in my world, if you have a Jeep Wrangler, that thing should be caked in mud. It should show the battle scars.
Yeah. That's a fair point.
Yeah, but and this could be just a city thing in general, but it's the Jeep Wrangler has kind of become a status symbol.
It's like the construction foreman without a scratch on his boots or his hard hat.
It's why people are so upset that like libs are now wearing Carhartt because they're using it to style.
There's really funny Instagram videos of guys like making just the worst video ever.
I'll tell you where it started, and if anyone's wondering how liberals adopted the Carhartt.
Thank you.
Woo! So,
go on.
Those I will.
Okay.
So those Gen Z TikTok stars, those TikTok girls that you love, Brett, they started wearing the Carhartt beanie. probably when TikTok first started getting big.
I've never
and when
had
that
TikTok on my
happened,
phone.
the brand was just, the new thing.
Yeah. Okay, so somebody says, hold on, I just saw it here. Cord says, rubber ducks are placed on other Jeeps to spread kindness and surprise the owners. That's what Google says. Okay.
Isn't that what I said?
Fine. Well, I mean, spread kindness, surprise the owners. I still hate it, but,
Well,
okay.
what do you do to show solidarity with the other drivers?
I don't show solidarity with anyone.
You should get you know what you should do? You don't have a Tesla, Brett, but you should get that sign that says, I bought this before Elon went crazy.
That would actually be really funny.
Anyway.
And put it on my Toyota.
Yeah.
That would be funny. Jeremy Smith says, the Jeep thing literally is, hey, I have a Jeep too. Just dumb. A woman in Oregon, I think it was Oregon, started it.
I don't know if that's true. Maybe
it
is.
Is there like an equally worse version for like Subaru?
Okay, I've got a worse version.
Is there a WRX version?
The friggin' balls on the back of pickup trucks. I can't stay. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
They hang them from the hitch, and they're balls.
Of course.
And it's this trend, and I'm not fond of it. I think it's dumb.
DCNC says, okay, we're only $90 from the next party. You are correct, sir. All right. He says I missed a bunch of super chats. Did
you?
Yes, I'm back up here. So DCNC says, Brett, if Trump takes Canada, you can stop being a secret frostback and finally become a real American. I mean, I am a real American. I am a real American. No? Fight for the
You like
rights
hockey, dude.
of
I don't know
every
how
man.
American you actually are.
Shane H. Wilder says, cold high voltage. I'm not even that mean.
What did he say?
He mentioned high voltage says Brett's dream car is a Jeep Wrangler because he's talking about the Jeep. We already read that one. Okay, Pete Donovan says Brett sounds like the double rainbow guy like that.
I will say though, if we save the GONGO, we're gonna need a Jurassic Park style Jeep Wrangler to go in there. It's the only way.
Not that John Stewart says Jeep is a cult. Prove me wrong. Maybe.
A little bit.
I can't prove it. Jeremy Smith says, I read that one. Pink Satyr says, if you don't know what the ducks mean, you don't need to know what the ducks mean, or some such.
It's not, but people keep saying Jeep. It's not just the brand. It's specifically the Wrangler. There's plenty of, go out today, next time you hit the road, and you're going to notice plenty of Jeeps on the road. It's not the Wranglers that is the cult. It is the Wranglers that it is the cult. It's not just the brand in itself. I saw probably 30 different Jeeps all in a line over the weekend driving through Harper's Ferry. They get together and just drive places. Whoa,
All right. The last of my kind says skin fades started in the military. Okay, yeah. I mean, men's haircuts have not really changed much in the last 10 years either. It's, low taper fade, high fade.
Before that too, it was also in the 20s, the haircut was long on top and shaved on the sides and back, kind of like yours is now. And the only reason is usually you have a hat on, but if someone tries to grab the side of your hair, they can't.
I at one time had that with a man bun. That's how long it was on top.
You had a man bun. Oh,
I didn't actually wear it up in the man bun, but it was long enough.
How many crisis parties to reveal that look on air?
Nah. I've reposted it to my Instagram,
really?
On the story.
Oh, okay. I'll keep an eye out.
Shane H. Wilder says truck nuts are tarded. Fight me. Yeah. There you go. All right, guys. Before we go, would you hit the like button on this video, please, and subscribe to the channel if you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already. Hitting the like button helps a lot, tells the algorithm you like this content. I want to thank you, Kellen, for helping out again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I did okay. I'm on a 2-day run, dude. This might be my record for not pissing off chat.
Did good today.
I did.
Where can they find you, my friend?
You guys can follow me at KellenPDL. If you want to save the GONGO.
Yes. Buy a mug.
Get a mug.
It's in the description of this video.
Again, we Cash Brew Coffee's got a lot of exciting flavors in the works, and you're gonna need a good mug to hold those exciting flavors.
Gotta plan ahead. Gotta
Yes.
plan it. Guys, if you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram and on Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. We are here 5 days a week, guys, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is noon Pacific. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you would like to listen rather than watch the show, you can rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. That is another way to help the show. And if you follow us on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Couple more here. The last of my kind says the duck started from a lady that was near sewer slide. She drove a Jeep and put a duck on the Jeep, and the person's positive reaction and chose to live and kept doing it. There was a documentary about it. Wranglers and gladiators only. Well, in that case, I've changed my mind. If it helped somebody, then who am I to hate? No. Assuming that what you just said is true, I'm glad that lady did not choose to make that decision. I'm glad she's still here.
I don't know if that's true.
I have no idea. I'm going to pretend like it is because I want to live in a world with love. We got one more here from Jared May. Says, Brett, thank you for all you do. No, thank you, my friend. And with that being said, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then.
See ya. Go
Bye.
Steelers.
Bye, everyone.